Greetings. My name's Carrie Medd, Superintendent of Schools for SAD 52.
And I'm Eben Shaw, Principal at Leavitt High School.
And we're bringing to you our second cell phone sit down to talk about the upcoming proposal for a cell phone policy for staff and students here in our school district. How are you, Mr. Shaw?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Great. So we sent out a survey a couple months ago, got a lot of responses from parents. So thank you all for taking the time to fill that out. And so we wanted to follow up and provide more information around some particular issues that people raised and had questions about. So the biggest question that came up was, would students be able to have their phone, right? Are we banning phones, meaning they can't be on campus, or are we just banning the use of phones while they're here at school?
We're just looking to restrict the use of personal devices during the school day. So we're not banning phones from campus. Students will bring them with them to school, as everybody has one in their pocket. We talked about that last time. They would be put away during the school day.
There potentially are disciplinary consequences, though, for repeatedly not following the policy, but that's probably no different than right now with just your regular rules.
That's correct.
Okay, great. So a lot of parents wanted to know, how am I going to get in touch with my student, right? It's so automatic these days to just text your kid. Sometimes those text messages come during the middle of class, sometimes they don't. So what's going to be the best way for parents to get in touch with their student?
I think the best way is the old school way. So call the main office, talk to one of the ladies in the office, leave a message for your student, and we'll get that message to them, whether that's calling them down or actually taking it to the class. The other way I think is going to become probably more commonplace is to just shoot an email to the student through their Google account, because students will be on their Chromebooks periodically during the day and will have access to their Google suite of apps. So
great. So we also know that we've got some students who have medical conditions where cell phones are actually really, really helpful and useful in helping them to monitor. And in particular, I know diabetes is one specific one where students may have apps that help them monitor. So what are we going to do about those situations?
So there are instances, like you just mentioned, we have students with glucose monitors that talk to an app on their phone. They're going to have access to that. We're not going to restrict that. We'll talk with students individually and figure out a plan on how to make that work.
Let's see. What about, this would be a concern primarily for students. Oftentimes, especially the older students who are working, are communicating potentially with their boss during the school day. So what is going to be the best way for students to communicate with work?
So similar to the parent response, I think. If an employer needs to reach a student, they can call the office and leave a message, and we'll get them the message. We do that now sometimes. And also, again, via email, I think is going to be probably the most efficient way to do it, but we can do it either way.
One thing that's on everybody's mind all the time, because we're doing a lot of emergency planning here, is what happens in the case of emergency. So lots of parents were saying to us, yep, I support this, but I need to be able to get in touch with my kid in an emergency, which we all understand that. So what have we done in terms of our own work as we've put this policy together to respond to that issue and concern?
Yeah, I think one of the first things we did was talk with our SRO, Tyler Ham. And he reached out to his boss, Sheriff, Andrew Scott County Sheriff, and they looked into it and kind of found the same thing that we did, that in a building-wide emergency, restricting cell phones is a way to help resolve the emergency in the short term, and minimizing cell phone traffic and potentially the dissemination of false information is an important step for them to be able to take. That being said, if we were to have to leave the building or whatever, the students would take their phones with them. And I think they're not banned from, they'll take them with them when they go. So
and one of the big things that we've been working on as we've done our emergency planning is communication. So making sure that parents are getting regular updates if there were to be an emergency, so that they're not sitting trying to fill in a vacuum of information, not hearing from their student and sort of getting panicked, that we're providing regular communication. So that's definitely one of our goals as well.
And I think the other thing that sometimes goes unthought of in an emergency situation is how to get that emergency information out. Every room in this building has a phone in it. So
good reminder.
There'll be access to if there's an emergency happening in a classroom, it's not like there's no phone to call. Every room in this building has a phone.
So just off that topic, but on one more topic that came up a bunch with the parent survey was employee cell phone use. Will there also be an employee cell phone use policy in addition to the one for students?
Yes, they're being worked on simultaneously.
Great, awesome. All right, well, the school board's going to be working on this policy. They probably will be working to try and finalize it either at the May 1st or the May 15th meeting.
Yep.
And I think if anybody's got questions about this policy, reach out to either myself or Mr. Shaw, or certainly provide feedback to the school board. So thank you very much for listening.
Thank you.